Welcome to Wrestling is Real.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here.
Here's the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Day in and day out, I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even in commentary.
And whether you like it or you don't like it, learn, by God, to love it, because it's the best thing going today.
Celebrating 6 years of podcast excellence, KingofPodcasts.com proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
For roughly 6 months, yours truly, King of Podcasts, has been sitting behind this microphone week after week, and we've gone ad nauseum in the normal run of SummerSlam and post SummerSlam, complaining about various things, whether it was Crown Jewel, whether it was Super Showdown, whether it was all the B-level pay-per-views, Survivor Series, and everything else in between, the dead part of Christmas time, the holidays, and just saying to ourselves, you know what, WrestleMania season is going to come. It's coming up soon. We're all complaining about the ratings are so bad. And then we had that lull. And the one thing that didn't help at all was Roman Reigns having to go take a step back and get himself better and get treatment for leukemia that came back to bite him. And to think 6 months later, not only did we know that Roman Reigns coming back was going to get a great response, because this guy, the reality of Roman Reigns, I mean, seeing him come from behind the character, the gimmick that we've been seeing for all this time. The truth is, Roman Reigns is the name on TV, but that's Joe Anoa'i. And we saw him October 22nd when he had to go ahead and say he had to go. And, you know, we could crap on the character and the gimmick all we want, and we all did. And you know how we all felt after we saw him go? You know, everyone was just like, I mean, I know what we said about him. I know how we felt about him, but honestly, like, you wanted the guy to feel better and you wanted him to come back okay. We wanted to make sure he was okay. And what a relief on Monday night to hear that he's in remission. Great news. Almost, I mean, I was smiling ear to ear, very happy for Roman Reigns and for his family. And nobody wants to go through that. And the truth is, the way Atlanta treated him was like, I haven't heard anybody since, I don't even know. But I haven't heard anybody get that kind of a applause and that kind of a cheer in a long time. But I was like, wow, man, that was just so good. And it's so good for him because he gets to come back. And, you know, even I bet he thinks, hey, man, they could treat me the same way they always do on TV. Because, you know, this is the same crowd that booed me when, you know, I took Daniel Bryan's spot at a Royal Rumble. It's the same crew that, you know, when I got to be in every championship match at WrestleMania, right? That, you know, getting the Superman push, the Cena push, getting that role and not feeling that he was deserving of it. We all felt that. And to see him come back after what he went through, because I'll tell you what, it's nothing about feeling pity. I just feel like we get to see this guy for who he is, who he really is. We knew he was a nice guy behind the scenes when he wasn't being scripted. We knew that. And we knew that he could be a cool guy. It was always said about that. And maybe there was just some points where he went through some issues with, you know, he went through some issues with the wellness policy. He went through some issues with injuries. And he's become an older man. He's become a wiser individual. It's not like he went through like what Randy Orton did. But I'm just saying, Roman Reigns has gone through a lot in his career. And I really feel that where we are with things now with Roman Reigns is he's going to come back now, get himself back into ring shape. We don't know when he's going to be coming back into the ring, but when that day comes, look at the response he got. Not a soul was booing him, as we were all programmed to do for so long. And it didn't have nothing to do with the Shield. Nothing to do with the Shield. It was him. Just him being himself. and being grateful to the audience for all the response he got and being grateful for the prognosis. Very grateful. I can't be happier for the guy. And that leads to the fact that this Roman Reigns coming out announcing his remission, first of all, was the one thing that really just started the momentum, the ball rolling on what was WWE. And I cannot say it was Bruce Pritchard because of the fact he got brought back into the creative side last week. We didn't get to know about it until after this show aired. And it was only over the weekend we learned about it. So we hear about that. And then we were coming back last week from various people getting released, hearing more rumors about who might be going to AEW, the issues with The Undertaker now working at StarCast over the weekend of AEW's Double or Nothing. And let me tell you something. For weeks and weeks, the AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, Major Independent buzz had been overshadowing WWE for most of January and February. Starting off with Wrestle Kingdom. And then we get here, and now we're at the point where we were really afraid of what was going to go on with WWE in terms of the TV product. The ratings were down. They took the desperation nod of putting the NXT stars out there for NXT main eventers and putting them out there. You got a bump in ratings, but then you got to ask yourself, is that going to be enough? That's not answering the answer about WrestleMania. So there was a come to Jesus moment in that company. I don't know what happened in the last week that caused all of this to culminate into something that was really special, where both Raw and SmackDown Live, in terms of being vehicles to promote Fastlane, being vehicles to start promoting WrestleMania 35, and getting people interested. You couldn't have packed more into those two shows than you did. Could you say that was hot shot booking? Probably. But I think also it was hot shot booking for a purpose, because this is where WWE, you could tell they were under the gun. You could tell that they were feeling the pressure, feeling the heat. You heard the buzz among the wrestling media that, listen, they're only 8 months away from having to go ahead and make a new deal with Fox and for USA to stick on board. And USA can't afford to have WWE start falling apart and their Monday night programming taking a nosedive to where other programming could take that over. And then that guaranteed right there of, the ratings and the revenue that have been a mainstay for over 10 years in the current contract, for that to go ahead and take a dive after they just renewed was not good signs. And, the company can't take a hit financially for that. They were going to. They could definitely do that. But somehow, some way, they found a way to turn the corner. That's what they did Monday and Tuesday night. They turned the corner. I don't know how this came about and how all of this was able to get put around. How many times last week, and I was more or less kind of rambling last week because I was looking at a lot of different things. And I'm just saying to myself, I said how many problems so many times. I think I said it at least 20, 30 times on the show. It was a crutch. And I apologize for using that as a crutch last week. But when I see what happens here, and I look at basically look around for all the things that are going on within wrestling, and WWE is the news right now with multiple headlines on various things you could be talking about. Raw had various headlines, mainstream headlines. And then SmackDown Live also had various headlines, but for the wrestling media, it was jam-packed. It's as if something came to light and said, okay, here we go. We're all back into the mix now. And it's really, really good. And it's awesome. For all the weeks that AEW, All Elite Wrestling, had been front and center and beginning a lot of buzz, well, they took a back seat this week. They took a back seat. You know, and they're going to be taking a backseat, but they got a couple weeks before they have to go ahead and really make something happen. But it's incredible. So much going on now. And we get next week, we're going to go ahead and get a chance to see what's going on with Fastlane. We're going to get go-home shows for Fastlane. And now it only takes a couple of shows like that to get the buzz, to get the ball right back on rolling. Because with WWE, it is the end-all, be-all. And not for nothing, you have to remember all of the things they have when it comes to having the resources, having the money, having the wherewithal to make a better product. They've just been underperforming for weeks and honestly for months and years. If you want to look at the long term, they've been underperforming. But when they put their heads together and they are not worried about numbers and financial figures and second quarter, this and that, and, you know, what are we doing for events coming up down in the second, third quarter after WrestleMania? Because WrestleMania is just like, you know, a gloss over. It's just going to be a big payday. It always is. But you got to build the event. It's still old school wrestling promotion where you got to build a card that people want to go and see, and they want to go buy the tickets to go see it. Because for people to go to New York, to go to the other shows, to go to see Jim Ross or Bruce Pritchard or Eric Bischoff or whatever, or Conrad Thompson or whatever, or seeing other house shows going on around WrestleMania, and you're not even going to get the focus? What good is that? Like, you don't bring yourself to New York City to be second fiddle to everybody else. WWE WrestleMania coming to town, that's supposed to be the main focus. That is the reason why people are coming. But this year, we're almost afraid that it wasn't going to be that, because we were thinking about the fact that, okay, well, we're going to get Ronda Rousey in a triple threat. Hopefully. We haven't gotten that match announced yet, but right now it's Ronda and Charlotte. But we're thinking, well, hopefully they're going to get Becky in. They took moves now to make that more of a reality. Now the tease is there for Becky to possibly be entered into that match. But they did so much. They did so much that it overshadows the normal parody booking that they normally do. That was the other thing. Some of the parody booking was taken aside because I don't think anybody paid attention to it. You saw some of the same people working with each other like they always do every week, but then it was like, no, there's something different here. Somebody took, I don't see it was a back to basics thing, but I just think that you had to do something to stir things back up. They needed to do things to show WrestleMania time is here. WrestleMania season needed to feel like it was here. It took until February 26th, excuse me. It took almost 2 months into WrestleMania season to finally get that there. Like, we got nothing from the Royal Rumble. We got nothing that really made us feel like, oh, wow, Royal Rumble made us something really special. No, because then Becky Lynch, who won the Royal Rumble, was taken out of the match, right? And she won to get a title shot. She asked for the title shot with Becky, and then she's denied it. And for Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble to go and take on Brock Lesnar, well, we haven't even gotten started on that feud yet. It hasn't even started because Seth Rollins is persona still injured, and Brock Lesnar isn't nowhere to be seen. He's not been on television. But when you think about that, Brock Lesnar didn't even have to come out to get a pop or anything like that to get things back up. See, the company didn't even have to go to get Brock Lesnar to come in the hopes that he would probably garner a rating. No, they took what they have. Like, that's the whole point. Some things got put back into perspective on Monday and Tuesday night. That's what it was. When you look at everything that happened, was just incredible. They did so much with all that was going on here. I don't know how they did it, but it's some of the best TV I've seen since, say, Raw 1000, Raw 25, or SmackDown 1000. It's been that. So it was specialty events or novelty events. That's the last time we really felt like, or anything that was a gimmick, that's when you really felt like there was something going on. But otherwise, when do we have must-see TV? When do we have things that were going on that people were buzzing about throughout the night to where, well, you couldn't wait until you saw it say on Hulu or catch the clips on YouTube or whatever. People had a reason to tune in live Monday and Tuesday night. When I'm sitting here and I'm actually getting, and I'm responding a certain way to certain things going on, I'm like, wow, we really got I got the WWE I was looking for. This is the way it's supposed to be. On Twitter, after Raw Monday night, I put this tweet up. And I took 2 spots of it, but I said this. And this is the stuff I took away from Raw on Monday night. Rhonda Rousey lays down the Raw Women's belt as she is looking to force the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania to be a triple threat and to have Becky Lynch reinstated into the company, or to have her suspension lifted so that she could be faced in that match. And Rhonda Rousey, on top of that, she leaves the belt. She abandons the belt. Now, it doesn't say that she's vacated it, but she put the belt down because she's not happy being given people that she's made to be chosen to face instead of who she should face. And that story was first. That was one story that I wanted to bring up there. Then you had, starting off with Roman Reigns returning, like you said. Plus, we get a second time we see him, and he makes a shave for Dean Ambrose. And the Shield kind of have a little bit of a comeuppance without the actual reunion. And then Roman Reigns and his remission was one thing. Seeing Rhonda Rousey did what she did at 9 o'clock, second hour of Raw, and getting into Stephanie McMahon's face after calling out Vince first, and then Stephanie coming on instead to do this, which of course I understand why she did it. Look at the highlights we had on this show. After Roman Reigns, let's go in between the first and second hour. You get the NXT stars and tag team action, Aleister Black and Ricochet, and a great match against the Revival. They get a non-title win. And then we get Dean Ambrose, Elias, and then we're getting this whole thing where the continuation of this new pseudo faction with Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin, and now Elias pounding down on Dean Ambrose after they pounded down on Braun Strowman. And then we get the Shield, coming out to help out. And then we get Rhonda and Natalya against the Riot Squad, and then we get Rhonda doing what she does. Kurt Angle gets to be in action, so that was important. They're going to lead up to something with him, maybe some kind of a retirement angle. Moment of Bliss was a very down spot, but then you got Finn Balor and doing the whole deal with Lio Rush. The way they got to it, okay, but Lio Rush and Finn Balor having a good match, and doing something different with Finn Balor where, not for nothing, maybe people were complaining about the fact he was pseudo manipulating Lio Rush to take a title shot from him when he knew that Lio Rush was coming out to get Bobby Lashley a title shot again. And then you see that, but the whole point is, did anybody notice Finn Balor didn't sound like he was being scripted? Did anybody notice that Ronda Rousey didn't look like she was being scripted? Did anybody notice that Elias didn't sound like he was being scripted? Am I wrong? Moment of Bliss, that sounds like Alexa Bliss was being scripted. But then after that, Finn and Lio Rush, that exchange actually sounded kind of organic. Then Lashley and Strowman, that they're going to do something with that. But again, them and then Dean and Drew McIntyre, again, they all going after each other. But again, solid matches. We're not getting just some throwover matches. Like, we're not getting Lucha House Party against, whatever. We're not getting, even the Riot Squad was out there, but they put a decent tag team match out there to keep people interested. You also have, we didn't get Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Hey, man, God bless them, but they weren't on the show. You just saw stars getting put out there that would need to be out there. And when there were certain things that just didn't really matter, like Heavy Machinery, because they're just not being pushed that way, They get a backstage segment, which that's all they needed to be, but they haven't really done much in the ring to warrant any kind of response from the crowd, especially for WrestleMania, if they're not even going to be a part of WrestleMania. So why even have them out there? Like, I won't get that, or Lacey Evans or EC3, why they're out there in the first place. Okay? Just don't get that at all. And then, instead of seeing Bayley and Sasha together again like they normally do, they put the singles match where it's a tease anyway, where Bayley and Sasha will take on Nia Jax and Tamina at Fastlane to defend for the first time the women's tag team titles. And then we didn't see much. We were seeing things because of the fact we had Ric Flair's 70th birthday party, which actually happened over the weekend or late last week. But then they do the same thing here, and he's in Atlanta, where I guess he lives now. And everything about Rick, you get the packages, you get the build up, you get a lot of people coming out to be a part of it. I mean, they brought Shawn Michaels back, the guy that retired him in 2006 before he went to TNA. He brought out Kurt Angle, who, got to work with Flair for a lot of different years and all. And then you had two of Ric Flair's best opponents. I mean, in the history of ever. Besides Dusty Rhodes. Besides Barry Windham. I mean, name the guys he's taken on that were great. But when you look at the annals of history, I mean, listen, hey, God bless, whoever else Ric Flair ever took on. I mean, took on all the champs. Took on the Von Erichs. Took on Harley Race. Took on, to pick them, right? But when you look at the thing that really stands out, when you talk about the real athleticism of matches and great matches that people will still talk about today, Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat, the 3 matches in 1989, with the best one, even Ric Flair says it, I'll say it was, Chi-Town Stampede, or whatever it was, Chi-Town, whatever it was called. It was that show, summer of 89 in Chicago. Fantastic. Great match. You see Teddy Long out there with the baldness and the hair down, and he goes out there to come in after the referee gets bumped out, and then we get the dusty finish. But, Rick wins the championship. And then, those guys were facing each other for 20 plus years. Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair. Just great stuff. And then Ric Flair and Sting. Again, those guys went at it after for a long ass time. And a great feud together. Sting has to feel that Ric Flair is the one responsible for building Sting to be the guy he is today. No doubt about it. So it was great to see Stinger, great to see Ricky Steamboat, great to see Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle out there. So everything was put out there. They also bought him a new 10 pounds of gold. Because wasn't the other one stolen? No, he sold the other one. That's right. He sold the old belt because he needed the money. And WWE did a solid for Ric Flair and got him a new belt, just like the original. Replicated. Amazing. But we didn't get to see Ric Flair. We did, but not until we saw him getting dragged out by Batista, of all people. And when I saw that, man, if Batista was going to come back, we saw SmackDown 1000. We saw the return of the group Evolution, which was great. And seeing them all together was just fantastic. And then I'm saying to myself, incredible. Because I know Batista was done wrong when he came back a couple of years ago. Right when Daniel Bryan was getting hot and getting that title shot and really becoming the star that he is today. It was just a bad time for Batista, bad time for Roman Reigns. Now, full circle. Roughly 6 years later, Batista comes back. Great time for Batista to come back. Roman Reigns comes back. Great time for Roman Reigns to come back. You couldn't have timed it better. You could not have timed it better. So Batista, hot off of Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. on the heels of Avengers Endgame, which you will have a bit part in that as well. Drax the Destroyer. And Batista, all he had to do was, you had to call back, if you remember, what Batista said to Triple H as a shot to him after Randy Orton took a shot at people. Then you see Batista take a shot. They both smile, but then you got to say to yourself, they planted a seed. And I called it back then. And the seed has now been fermented and it has now blossomed. And what better way to get this match over in a millisecond than to beat up Ric Flair on his birthday? Angle set. Angle started. Flame lit. Spark huge. Incredible. Incredible. You couldn't have done better. That's just Monday night. That was just Monday night. This is not even like an Eric Bischoff type hot shot booking. They didn't just, there was not just a cramming of shit on here. This is not just a cram just as a cram stuff. This is them basically catching up on what they should have been doing if they were to build this over several weeks after Royal Rumble. The last, 4 weeks, they could have been doing this. You could have, you could have had Rhonda confront the McMahons after Becky Lynch does what she does. Those 2 weeks of Becky, confronting and whatever, you didn't have to go through all that. Getting Batista back, you didn't have to go through that right away. You could have put that into a separate night. Roman Reigns coming back from remission with Remission, you could have done that on a separate night. Imagine if they would have had that all spread out over 4 weeks. Talk about building up to WrestleMania. But the magnitude, the impact of seeing all this culminate in one night was amazing. One of the best Raws probably in a decade. I'm not kidding you. That good. It's probably to the level of Raw 25. How about that? To the level of Raw 25. Could have surpassed it. But instantly on Monday night, in 3 hours, what was a WWE universe that was truly just upset and angry and frustrated and just not interested whatsoever in what's going on. And even if they got a little bump with NXT people, well, that was just a little bit of something just to kind of like hold people over. I guess until WWE people at the top, the McMahons and Triple H and whoever, they just figured out, man, what are we doing wrong here? It just can't be that Bruce Prichard just came in here and he goes all Texan over here and well, y'all just need to put Hardy Boys together. You just need to bring back Batista. If he's got time to come back from a movie, there's something to wrestle with Bruce Prichard. I've been talking about every week with Conrad. Roll Tide, Conrad. And what? You think all the talk he's been talking about, with, Hell in a Cells and, In Your House pay-per-views is that was the trigger to say, okay, he's been talking about this and Vince said we'll bring him back. Well, listen, what Bruce Prichard does in the full construct of what happens here is he becomes a voice of reason. Now, he might not be the only voice that has always bode well for Vince McMahon, but what he does do is if there are other people in creative that are trying to bring ideas up and there's some decent ideas, what Bruce can do is he can be the mediator and say, hey, Vince, this is not a bad idea. And Vince will listen to him. Bruce Prichard is not Pat Patterson here, which, put it like this, when Pat Patterson was the right-hand guy for Vince, how often did they get it right in the 80s, right? They did. When Vince had a solid ear to go to, and I don't think he felt like Triple H is that guy because Triple H, hey man, bless him. The guy's done a lot of good. Look at what he's done with NXT. But to get that main roster thing up, Vince still makes good decisions when he's given the right Well, when he has the right nucleus of people around him, I think he does get some things right. I think if there's good ideas that come around him, that's what happens. And then the right ideas come up to the top. Vince, I think, still can't say that his creative thinking is always good, but his decision making in some cases, that's why he's the management. That's why he's been promoting for 40 plus years. Okay? This is why he knows what he's doing. Even at 70-something years old, 72, 73 years old, he still gets it. I mean, this is still wrestling to him, and he can still figure things out. If it's done right, it can still be done right. And a number of decisions were made on Monday and Tuesday night that were fantastic. And just look at the nucleus of what's been going on. So with Bruce Pritchard coming in, this is only a benefit if Bruce is brought in to basically be the mediator, be the middleman, and properly convey what the creative team comes up with, good or bad. Or basically filter through the shit that creative will give him and not let it go straight to Vince. And then Bruce can come in and say, okay, this is what we got. This is some stuff that came up with, but we could also be doing this. And then just suggestions. I mean, give somebody that's giving proper suggestions and good, proper ideas that are going around Vince's head. Just have Vince get the right stuff in his brain and he'll figure it out. Because when he's given shit, he will put out shit. But again, there were people around, even when Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara were down there in the Attitude Era, there were people around him, a good nucleus of people that did figure out how to do things right because they were able to filter out some stuff that didn't go well. And some of the stuff that might not have been great, even in the Attitude Era, that was overpowered by, first of all, an amazing roster, which there's no question the roster is great right now. It is. Imagine look at the people they put out there. If you did have Ricochet or as Prince Puma, Tommy End, or Gargano and Ciampa, or whoever else that you have out there, or you have EC3 back out in the major independents, where could they be and what will they be doing? Forget about it. Let's not forget AJ Styles, Finn Balor. You got mid-carders that are great, and Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, and just think about it. The Hardy Boys don't need to be the best and the best like they were, and they don't need to be TLC worthy like they were back in the 90s, but you put them together on SmackDown Live like you did Tuesday night. Hey, as long as they're out there and they're able to put some stuff together, it's just like when the New Age Outlaws came out. They didn't have to go and burn the house down, but they did fine, and they did what they needed to do. And you work with what you have. And you didn't have to go out and go seeking out all part-timers all the time. You didn't have to go and add Brock Lesnar an extra payday or take one of his dates that he had scheduled and get him to Atlanta to try to save the company or save a rating, something like that. So they didn't have to do that. But what this company did was a lot of things that were just absolutely right. Now, we haven't even talked about Tuesday night yet. Tuesday night was just as good, probably better. Tuesday night, again, they hit home runs on Tuesday night. Home freaking runs. How they did it, I don't know. But, I mean, somebody was going on in the back. And, I mean, I wonder what Meltzer says and all these others saying. But they hit home runs so well, so effectively. Ridiculous. All right, just look at what they did on SmackDown Live. Opening segment. So Kofi Kingston has not been a factor in the main event. The last time you would have said it was when he did have that great match in Madison Square Garden, which somebody called back, that he had with Randy Orton, which was great. Remember when he did the stuff that was outside the ring and he did, what was it that he did? That was a table shot he did outside the ring that was on Randy Orton. And when Randy Orton was in Legacy and all that kind of stuff, what was it 2011 or something like that? It was a long time ago. Kofi had won a lot of belts. He won tag belts. He won, how many times did he win the Intercontinental title over Dolph Ziggler, whoever else? What did he win, like 6-7 times? So Kofi Kingston, they've now gone through his history. They went through that on Tuesday night. They went through his history, through his career. They brought up the Royal Rumble stuff. And They definitely saw what Kofi Kingston was and the grand opportunity that he had to be in the Elimination Chamber and that open spot because of Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali apparently was going to get a good push from this, but Kofi getting the nod here, why not? Why not? So people are happy there. It's like Kofi Kingston's the next running of Daniel Bryan. It's like, oh, look, this guy's finally going to get a chance. Like, what did Kofi Kingston do wrong? What did he do? Well, he's not worthy? I mean, when you've been around long enough, yeah, the New Day gimmick has been great for him because that's really made him relevant, has kept him relevant the whole time instead of trying to find things that were just kind of there. But Kofi Kingston has fit in perfect with New Day. And that has been running and been banking money for a long time now, a couple of years. And so Daniel Bryan with Rowan, and then Shane and Stephanie out there, and then we get... And then we get what was the best thing of the night? I mean, damn it. Okay, Stephanie did a great job confronting Rhonda Rousey. Those two together was magic. That was just great shit. Amazing shit between those two. But then you get Vince, disruptor of the WWE as chairman. He screws over Becky Lynch and throws in Charlotte Flair into the match. Loved it. I know people didn't like it, but again, it was that outrage that he created. It was like that. I mean, Chuck hit me up. Definitely hit me up after Becky got screwed over because he didn't like that. But did he get pissed when he heard Vince saying, "You're not qualified, Kofi"? I was like, Vince would say this shit. You could just hear it. It sounds like it's just real coming out of his mouth. It's something that Vince would say if he's behind closed doors. But then Vince is like, no, you're not getting this. You're not getting this. And who's going to come out? I was thinking it was Samoa Joe. I just thought Samoa Joe or whatever else. Well, no. Don't give us the predictable. We got unpredictability throughout the night. We got unpredictability last on Monday night. Kevin Owens coming back. Who thought that was going to happen? I was dumbfounded, man. Like, I mean, it was like mouth-dropping, jaw-dropping stuff right there. As soon as McMahon comes out there, Vince comes out, does that shit right there, jaw drops. And I'm like, stunned. And then the way he did it, Kevin Owens doesn't say anything, comes in, signs a contract, New Day's all pissed. Xavier Woods, I mean... You could tell him and Kofi are bros. So, like, there's some real emotion that's coming out of that whole thing. So, Xavier was pissed. Plus, I heard John Pollock waiting on the post-wrestling show, review of SmackDown, talking about the fact that while Big E was upset but reserved, Xavier Woods was passionate and angry and almost vengeful to the point of. And was just... This is bullshit. And Big E's just like, kind of just like, almost like saying it under the breath. And so could that dynamic have been planned so that we could see some kind of friction or some kind of disruption with the New Day as a result of this? Because one of their own gets a title shot here. It's not about the tag titles like it's always been. It's about a single belt. And now if Kofi Kingston wins this championship, which, I mean, why rule out the chance he could? I could see it. I could definitely see that happen. I don't think anybody will have a problem with it. Obviously, the crowd likes the idea of Kofi Kingston being champion. It's the WWE title. When you got AJ Styles, you got Daniel Bryan as your last champions, Shinsuke Nakamura trying to be that champion. I mean, just think about it. Those are all, I mean, the rules of like you need to be a Brock Lesnar type guy to be that champion. No, not at all. WWE Championship is much more of a feasible belt. That's a belt that people could get if you're on that brand. You could see The Miz if he wasn't in this storyline with Shane. You could see him make his way up to the title. If Randy Orton were built back up to a spot, he could be up taking that belt. Remember, Jinder Mahal won that belt. So you can see it happen. I mean, the belt has been built around to the point where, first of all, it would be great to see if Kofi Kingston could win the belt. But not only that, he could. It's believable. And I think people would be really excited about that. But man, did Vince McMahon do a screw job on the crowd. And the crowd was eating it up. And we don't even know if Kevin Owens is going to be a face or not, but he's a tweener right now. Like, he was a tweener before he came in. We don't know how he's going to react with Daniel Bryan yet. All he did was just sign the contract. And we don't know where Kofi Kingston is going to be in the mix, but obviously he'll be a disruptor into this whole feud. And hopefully we get him some point, some way. But I am all in on what they do with Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens, and Daniel Bryan, and this title shot. So Fastlane, if they're going to keep it with Kevin Owens, what else happens? Like, where does Kevin Owens and Kofi Kingston go with each other? Because that's obviously where we're going to go with things. Those two need to battle it out because the friction between the one that earned a title shot to the one that was inherited a title shot, which also no mention of Kevin Owens slapping Vince in the face. No mention of that. No mention of Kevin Owens knocking Vince McMahon down to the floor. None of that either. But it is what it is. We'll take some suspension of disbelief from there because the storyline, otherwise, that lack of continuity is still damn good. Very damn good. Then you get Jeff and Matt returning together, and Matt Hardy in incredible shape. Like, he's all jacked up. And wasn't necessarily all out and broken Matt character. It was kind of like the hybrid like it was when he first came in 2 years ago with Matt at WrestleMania to that big pop. And so we're reading that the Hardy Boys contracts are expiring soon. And I don't know. The reuniting is nice, but what will happen? Because obviously the Hardys, they still got some juice in them. And I mean, I'm sure Cody and anybody else might be, or Impact Wrestling or somebody else could definitely try to look and make a call to go ahead and try to get the Hardys if they become free agents. They can very well do that. So we don't know what they're going to do, but they had a good match against the Bar. Could they be against the Usos SmackDown Tag Team titles, WrestleMania? If you have Hardy Boys in there in some way, shape, or form, triple threat, whatever you want to do, go for it. Like, we like to see the Hardys out there. I mean, we still need some veteran talent out there. By all means, get them out there. They don't need to be the feature of the match, but let them be out there because the novelty and because of the fact it's a credible, legitimate tag team that it's over for 20 years, that they're still over. And when you have fans that are mainstream fans that don't watch this product a whole lot, look at what you're getting right now on the card. Batista and Triple H, the Hardy Boys going after the tag team titles again, WWE Championship, these people very well. And you're going to see this happen. You're like, oh my goodness. And Brock Lesnar is going to defend his title. And Rhonda Rousey, from UFC, that's pretty good. That's really damn good. And maybe Kurt Angle gets a retirement match. That's really damn good. That's a lot of star power without all of the part-timers. Batista's part-time, right? Triple H is part-time. Brock Lesnar's part-time. Rhonda has been full-time. She's not part-time, really. So think about all that. It's very promising. A whole lot of WrestleMania buzz now as a result of all of this. Then you go into R-Truth and a cool gimmick as the U.S. champion playing John Cena. Shit. You're using R-Truth properly. I mean, he can do the funny stuff and all, and that's good. And he keeps the hold on the belt. And there was a great way to inject Rey Mysterio and Andrade into this match. Made it a triple threat match. Great match for the title. And Andrade and Rey Mysterio they knock it out of the park, man. They just good lucha libre, man. These guys. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember if they ever got to work with each other in AAA, but they're from the same cloth, man. They both know they both know how to work the system. So for them to work a match together, however long you need to be, they get it, and their chemistry is succinct. It's like ballet out there. Those two, it's so good. I mean, there's just some people that just work great together, and those two just have a chemistry like nothing else. They just work so good together. Now, you could say what you want about Becky Lynch and Rhonda Rousey, but for my money, I am in love with Charlotte Flair right now. This character is so good. You know, any little blemishes she might have felt like she had on herself, those are gone. She looks as good as she has ever looked. I mean, I think right now, and I said this last week, I think right now when you see her come out to the ring and you see her strut, she really feels it now, because she feels the way that late 30s, early 40s Ric Flair talking to Tony Schiavone on World Championship Wrestling at 6:55, or excuse me, at 7:55. He's feeling like, or it's like, what, before Braves Baseball on TBS? Ric Flair, and coming out dressed from head to toe, looking as good as he can only look. Charlotte Flair is doing the same thing right now. She is styling and profiling. She is looking as good as she can look. I mean, and she looks great now. I mean, come on, give credit. I mean, you know, the breast enhancement, I don't think was necessary, but like the face, you know, the plastic surgery, I get why she did it. She still is a beautiful girl, period. But now, when you want to talk about making her look like glamour and look like a fashion model, and this athletic specimen of a woman that's amazing in the ring with great prowess, great visuals, it just all around. I mean, for a woman wrestler, she's got it all. She is total package. And that's why when I look at, you know, I know that Becky Lynch is the one that people want, but when you look at things, Charlotte Flair's got all of it. And remember, Charlotte Flair's also had all those matches with Asuka, Bayley, Sasha, Natalya. And she had a match with Rhonda Rousey. And to see those two go at each other again, fantastic. And her promos are now at the level of her work rate. Believe it or not. People want to say she's kind of slowing down the delivery and the way she's kind of delivering, because she's channeling Rick. She's channeling Rick. She is saying things like Rick would. It's been a long time. I was like, you hear just certain things about what she says. I am the queen. That's Ric Flair. That's her daddy. She's allowed to use the inflection. She's allowed to go ahead and stretch the words out. She's allowed to cut promos like that, because that's daddy's little girl right there. The apple of her eye. And she's hitting home runs right now. Talking about, Rhonda Rousey, no, not for nothing. I mean, like I said, she is improving week after week. I love the way she's been doing herself now in the ring and wrestling. This promo the other night, and they, you know, Charlotte called back the one she did in November about being a true champion, and then seeing this promo here, I mean, shit, good stuff. The women have the best work right now. They're getting the best promos. They become the best promos for a long time. And like I said, man, I can't say enough about Charlotte Flair. She is fantastic. Just because she's the heel, I mean, she is doing her job. She is playing heel as good as she can do it. It's the best of the best. And that triple threat match, when you put those three together, forget about it, man. I mean, it's still the match I want to watch. But I mean, now I'm torn between what the hell they got. I mean, listen, the triple threat match, we already knew that was going to be a great match. And now the buzz is really going. Becky doing what she did, got arrested the other night. You know, good stuff altogether. Yeah, he also arrested Becky Lynch. That's an afterthought among everything else. How about that? The pull apart, that's like an afterthought among everything else that happened on Raw. So much shit happened on Raw. You could have forgotten what was going on. I'm not kidding. I just remembered it now. But that's where we were. So no matter what, Charlotte, Becky, Rhonda, great stuff. Then you add Batista, Triple H. Shit. Not for nothing, man. Hey, no disrespect, Undertaker, but you're going to not be needed on the card this year. You're going to get to take a break. You're not going to have to get called on Batista, Triple H. And they had good matches before. They had good feuds before. There's a great story right there. I'm pretty sure you could put that match together and that'll be a good teardown, and they'll take it outside the ring and we will get one of those traditional, good school, old attitude era type main events right there in that WrestleMania match. Because they don't need to go ahead and go out and put out a clinic. No, they just need to go ahead and put those characters, those big, larger than life characters out there and expose and let them just jaw jack each other and tear each other down. Let them pummel each other to death. Like, that's what we're looking for. So then I got that match. And then you got Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens and Kofi Kingston. And I'm like, give me a triple threat of that too. Seriously. I would like Kofi Kingston to be in the title match at WrestleMania. Absolutely. See him win? I'll be fine with that. I don't know if they're going to do it. They pull the trigger, but give me those three guys together? Absolutely. Hardy Boys in a tag title match at WrestleMania? Absolutely. And then, then you're looking at a real WrestleMania you got 4 main events now. You got the 4 main matches set. You got them locked in. Now, 5 weeks. Well, no, it's be 6 weeks before WrestleMania, right? That's pretty damn good. That's really damn good. Now we're set. Now we can really build up. Get the Fastlane stuff going on here. Let's finalize it. Really get everything. We know where things are going on the WrestleMania card. We see it. And then we're going to finalize it. Then we're going to say, okay, we are here. We are here. And it's time to get to the point. And then Shinsuke and Rusev and Lana getting to be back the way she was with Rusev, and those two, and Shinsuke and Rusev as a tag team, for what it's worth, is good. They're doing the best of a situation, but it's just the fact that, man, with everything that was going on with, they had just dropped the ball on Rusev. And maybe some things will happen after everything's said and done, because like Shinsuke and Rusev together, that's good, because at least we'll see that right now, and let them be partners, and Lana's out there, and that's a good dynamic. That's a good team to have. If Nakamura stays around, I don't know if he stays around, but at least they're making use of him in some positive fashion. Because they did such a poor job with him as a standalone, with a single star. But if you want to tag him, that's fine. Rusev, you did a good job with Rusev Day, and then they just dropped the ball on that for whatever reason. They did that horrible gimmick with Agent English, and then we never saw Agent English. Now he's on 205 Live. So there was done with that. And then Rusev just gotten thrown into the mix. And then Rusev and Nakamura, they get played by R-Truth, so that R-Truth wins the title. And then Shinsuke and Rusev, it's like how it was with Cesaro and Sheamus. Like, we'll just put them together. See what they can do. It's like Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Let's just put them together, see what they can do. And that's one of those pairings that just kind of worked. And then seeing them against Aleister Black and Ricochet, again, fantastic stuff. Just good matches. And then just all that right there. So I want to give credit to Bruce Pritchard in some way, shape, or form. I have to think there was something there to where he did contribute, at least, because remember, he could not have done that much in the creative part with everything that was going on, right? I don't expect that. I don't expect that at all. But what it comes down to is, I really think that Bruce Pritchard's role coming in here now is to play mediator to the creative team. Because if it was Stephanie, she's just not, probably on the women's side, she has her interests, but probably not so much on everything else. Because I don't know who it was working on, if it was Triple H doing creative. And you know what? I think when it comes down to it, if it was Triple H, he's got too many hands in too many things. He's working NXT, working on the global expansion, the Performance Center stuff. And to have him also do creative and other things, if it was him, if it was somebody else, they're just not cutting it. And the agents are not cutting it either. And I think what it comes down to is, with Bruce Pritchard, first of all, the creative team because it's a Vince guy, and they know Bruce Pritchard has been in this company on and off for 30 plus years. And Bruce Pritchard has been around for a lot of good times, regardless of what everybody talks about. You know, when you talk about, Vince Russo says that, you know, Bruce has called him a liar, and Bruce has been helped out by Vince, and they've done this and that with each other, or whatever. Or Eric Bischoff might say something. I don't know what he said about Bruce Pritchard, but I'm just thinking Bruce Pritchard's been, you know, a focal point to a lot of people. I'm sure there's been a lot of negative said about him in the past. Yeah, I know. But when you got somebody like that's going to come back in, that's got Vince's ear and can truly persuade Vince in good direction. Listen, I don't give a shit if Bruce Pritchard gets to take the credit for certain things. It doesn't matter if who gets credit about gets what. It's about getting this ship right. It's about getting all this bullshit back on track. And one of the most important things that happened to this company for the long run is to see Roman Reigns back. The golden boy, the star, is back. And I've got to tell you, man, Roman Reigns, you got to hope he's going to come in motivated. Listen, he don't want to go back to Remission again. He's getting a second chance here to come back out. He's got the crowd behind his back. I mean, what else do you need to motivate yourself? The Roman Reigns should be motivated now to become the star he's supposed to be, to elevate himself to the level where he will become the top star and he will be adulated. Okay? Great story. Great chance to see him really do well. And, I mean, no one can shit on him now. I don't think he's going to ever get that kind of bad adulation anymore. I don't think we're going to get that. And most importantly for WWE is to not do this big dog gimmick where they give him fed lines and he sounds like shit. And they just don't make it where he just, you know, we wanted to see him be vulnerable. Well, we saw him be vulnerable in real life. It actually happened. And never forget that. I know he's not going to forget it. But now we get to see the real side of Roman Reigns. We get to see the human side of him. He's human. He's like you and me. And we like him. And for myself, Roman Reigns, I think he's a great guy. And I am all back on board with hoping that he does very well. I want him to be the top guy. I want him to do very well. I mean, whatever it takes for him to get to where he needs to be. Now he doesn't need to be a heel. He doesn't even have to go through the heel turn. Isn't it amazing? You could do it down the line, but I don't think anyone wants that. Not for a while. This unfortunate, tragic, sad, that makes you sympathetic moment of reality that came in and set upon Roman Reigns, and people just felt they just saw what happened and were like, but no, we don't want you to go. This is not what we wanted. I mean, we still we wanted to shit on you, but we don't want you to go through this. And leukemia is a serious shit. It's amazing that this all happened the way it did. But now Roman Reigns is back. And it's going to be good for him to come back here and really stand out in whatever shape or form he does for WrestleMania. That's besides the point. It's just the fact of the matter is they're going to get him back in here. I think Bruce Pritchard might be the right thing for Vince McMahon to have. Some veteran voices, some people that also, not only that, because if Bruce Pritchard wasn't working in the office, he was an agent too. He knows how to talk to those agents. And remember, look at all the guys you have agents now, whether it's, Fit Finley or Jamie Noble or Sanjay Dutt or Joseph Park, aka Abyss, right? All those people now, Chris Parks, excuse me, right? Now you got all these agents that have all worked with Bruce Pritchard in one way or another. They all know what to be doing. They're going to be able to be in lockstep together, and Bruce will be able to kind of like work things out with him in creative, right? This guy doesn't need it. Bruce Pritchard doesn't need to be writing the show. He just needs to be able to go ahead and make sure the right ideas get to Vince so that shit gets done. And also, Bruce can come in and just make a little comment here. It's like, well, why don't we do it like we did like this? I think we're missing the point. I think we could do it like this. And Vince will say, well, goddamn it, you're right. And there you go. kind of tough for Triple H or Stephanie or anybody else or Shane to do that with their family. You got an outside guy, Bruce Pritchard, man, he's been let go before. He gets a chance to come back. What does he have to lose? Because even Bruce Pritchard, his own thing, he wants to make sure that they do well, right? Why wouldn't he? So all that right there is all good news. Very good news. I didn't have to go through one damn story this week. I didn't have to go through anything. This is the kind of thing when it comes to wrestling. Of course, the major independents, seeing all that going on right now, watching Minor League Wrestling every week, Impact Wrestling. Hey, great stuff we're going to watch on TV, right? Hey, man, I get to watch the Lucha Brothers several times a week. Ring of Honor does their thing. Great stuff all around, right? Very happy. AEW is working their thing, man. You know, we got great stuff going on with wrestling outside. But when wrestling has all that going on, and for the first couple of months, we were saying to ourselves, well, we needed this because WWE's been shit in the bed. But we all know in the back of our minds, I forget about it, okay? I forget, and even I will get into my mind will be in the gutter thinking, man, they'll never be able to turn this back around. But even I have to be humble enough to say, you know what? Damn it. They still can do it. They can still turn shit around and get the ship right. I thought I was going to have to take until real competition came in and like AEW finally got the deal before they actually saw the light of what was going on here. Because, you know, WWE could have kept going in the downward spiral they were doing. They could have very well done that, but they didn't. Isn't that incredible? And now we'll look at what we're getting right now. Okay, now we're hearing that reports that Dean Ambrose might even stay in the company. And that Roman Reigns might be able to go keep him around because with the ear of Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose might be put in a better spot. But now we're hearing that. There might be a Shield reunion coming up. It could be as soon as the Fastlane pay-per-view. And now Ambrose was not happy with creative, not happy with having to even bring up Roman Reigns' leukemia. But reports are saying Dean Ambrose was happy backstage on Monday night. How about that? Incredible. And what did the ratings do? Which normally you'd have to wait a few weeks to see if the ratings did something. But of course, with things being so viral so fast, we heard Roman Reigns was going to be on Good Morning America. Well, just because they didn't announce that he's in remission yet, and we got to hear it on TV, well, you know what? The fact that he's getting on Good Morning America, that kind of tipped me off by saying, there's positive news here. What are they going to say? It's not going to be tragic. They wouldn't put it on there. But Roman Reigns coming back for what? For that? Man, that's great. And what happens? The ratings went up. They almost got 3 million viewers. With Ric Flair's birthday celebration, Roman Reigns coming back to start off the show. Roman Reigns coming out first hour, 3.2 million viewers. 2.95 second hour, 2.65 third hour. The drop off continues. But people miss Batista at the end of the night. Man, you missed it. Almost 3 million viewers. So 2 straight weeks, they're on the upswing. And not for nothing, that rating can come back up. There's a lot of shit that people are talking about. And all those regular, diehard fans, they're talking to their casual fans, talking about WrestleMania time because then they can talk about it to them. And what's happening? They're all talking now. And when they hear, oh yeah, man, Batista came back. What? Oh yeah, Rhonda Rousey threw the belt down. What? Becky Lynch got arrested. What? All this unpredictable shit going on. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here? So think about all that. Think about it. It's great stuff, man. That's just working out all together. So the ratings do well. Everything else is doing well. I'm like, Honky Tonk Man going to the WWE Hall of Fame. That was nice news. Boy, that just got put down all the way in the bottom with everything else. So him and DX going in. Honky Tonk Man, longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, man. Honky Tonk was one of my favorites, man. Wayne Fair, that guy was just one of my favorites. One of my favorite gimmicks in the old days of WWE, man. Just good stuff. He's a character for sure. But all that said and done, and you're saying to yourself, man, that is some shit right there. Amazing what they've been doing with each other, with all the things that are going on. And wow, lots of exciting stuff going on. Lots of stuff. So a couple of things I got to tell you about. There were some other things before I get out of here. So Battle Riot on April 5th, which will be on BN Sports, will be a 2-hour special live. Oh boy. Good stuff. And by the way, Intimidation Games that happened is this weekend, right? And I got to go and see that, or was it last week? So hopefully some fallout from that comes up. That's good stuff. A lot of positive news now for the company. And by the way, I'm not going to be one of those people that are going to jump on the bus about the whole idea about how we heard people thought that Roman Reigns having cancer was just a ruse. All I'm going to say about it is nothing. I'm not going to even entertain the thought of people that actually thought that way. It's just stupid. It's irrelevant. It's childish, immature thinking. If you really think that kind of stuff can happen, I don't care what kind of precedents there might have been. If you really think that kind of stuff could have happened, you're out of your fucking mind, honestly. Let me just say it like that. So it's just crazy. And tell you, man, the company did a lot of good. Momentum has started. You know, you just did the right thing, man. You turned people that were not necessarily into the road for WrestleMania. You directed all that traffic back on the road. You have spurned interest in WrestleMania once again. It is back more than ever before. And now wrestling is good again, at least for this week. And then we're going to come back into this next week and hopefully go home shows for Fastlane are going to be great. And remember, we will do a Fastlane post show right here on the Resurges podcast. So make sure and listen in for that. And other than that, a few more things I'm going to do down the pipe. I'm hoping to do some good things in terms of, getting the website hosted somewhere else. By the way, I have started my own Facebook page for King of Podcasts and all things King of Podcasts. I'll put that up on the website as well. I'm going to try to do something where I can try to put it together with the Wrestling is Real website, or the Wrestling is Real Facebook page. But now I have a standalone King of Podcast site for all the stuff I do on podcasting and everything else in radio and things like that. And I hope you guys will join me there. Facebook.com/King of Podcasts. You might remember that I put that out there before, but now I have it where you can like the page and you can follow it. And more people are following it now as I put all my friends out there invited to go and join. So I hope you get a chance to look at that. Until next week, let's just hope this momentum keeps going. Let's keep this WrestleMania season up and at it. Let's put the frowns upside down, folks. We had a good week this week. And it's got to just keep up like this. It's got to stay like this. I hope it does. All right, till next week. Back with another Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us. The following has been a presentation of KingofPodcasts.com. Subscribe to the Wrestling is Real podcast from iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and all major podcast portals. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter at King of Podcasts or at Wrestling is Real on Facebook. We want to hear from you 24 hours a day. Call into the Wrestling is Real voicemail at 561-899-7030 or email the show at kingofpodcasts@yahoo.com. And don't forget to check out the King of Podcasts' other show, The Broadcasters Podcast, found at broadcasterspodcast.com.